Guys, these two grapples behind me here are grapples for the 90% of us that don't have those additional hydraulics on your machine. What does that mean? Well, you think about it, you have two SCV selective control valves. That's going to direct flow one way or another. It allows you to raise and lower your front end loader, allows you to curl or roll your bucket, for example. If you want to do an additional function like open and close the jaws of the grapple, you got to have a third SCV, which again, most tractors out there are not going to have. So what's the solution if you want to run a grapple? Well, again, it's one of these two guys right here, okay? The electric grapple, going to come with everything you need, very easy to install. I'll put a link above somewhere in this video so you can go back and check it out, how to install one of these. The other option is the completely mechanical version, the brush crusher itself right here. Amazing design. I wish I would have come up with the idea. It's a really good idea. So I'm not looking to beat a dead horse here. I don't want to go over the same stuff I did a while back, but it's been, again, 5 or 6 months, something along those lines. I want to give you my feedback. I want to give you my customers' feedback. I'm asked all the time, hey, what size of tractors can this brush crusher go on? What size tractors can the Worksaver Electric Grapple go on, okay? Because you show them on these smaller tractors. I'll go ahead and answer that question, give you a recap on weight, give you my own preferences based on what I know about them now that I've had a chance to use both the brush crusher and the electric grapple a handful of times each, and we'll go from there. Okay, so first off, I want you to go to GoodWorks Tractors if you want to get the exact pricing on here. I hate sharing that information because, again, prices change over time. I intend for these videos to be out there for a long time, and so I will tell you, in general, the brush crusher is going to be cheaper than an electric grapple. Okay, so typically it's going to depend on what configuration you want, because the kind with this middle set of teeth here, okay, the middle jaw, is going to be a little bit pricier than the kind without the middle jaw. Makes sense, you know, so also the heavier duty version is a little bit more, that kind of thing as well. Go to goodworkstractors.com, you get more information there. Now about weight, okay, so this configuration right here is 280 pounds on the brush crusher, 240 pounds here on the electric mini grapple. If you don't get the middle teeth over here, you're gonna be back down to about the 240 pound mark, the same as this guy here. Now let me tell you something that surprised me, and that's gonna be the fact that I didn't think that this kind here with the middle teeth was gonna be the most popular seller that I had. However, it is. I thought the kind that didn't have here, the base model, the cheaper model, the kind that didn't have the middle teeth there and was also 40 pounds lighter, was gonna be a lot more popular. Turns out I was wrong. So I've sold, I don't know, over 100 of these things since March or so, maybe February, and far and away, this setup right here is the most popular, even for the little subcompact tractors where, you know, again, I thought weight would be more of a consideration. They're still going with the 3 sets of teeth here on the BC-4200. You know, this configuration over here on the Worksaver Electric Mini Grapple only comes the way you see it here, okay? Again, you can get this in black to fit a skid steer quick attach. So you Kubota owners out there, Massey, Coyote, Mahindra, anybody out there that has a skid steer quick attach on the front of their loader, you can get one of these electric grapples as well. So when you guys give me a call and ask which one I prefer, okay, I'm gonna give you this opinion based on what I think a grapple really should be, okay, and not based on price or based on some other priority that you might have higher on your list versus what I have. And so I really prefer the electric mini grapple over here, and I'll tell you why. The reason being is the fact that you actually still get that third function, okay? You still have the raising and lowering of your loader. You're not sacrificing that. You have the curling back or the rolling forward motion still. And then with the electric function here that, again, goes all the way back, you have a thumb control to control it. It ties into your battery. You have that third function so you can open and close the grapple. You're not sacrificing anything. Over here on the brush crusher, you have to make a sacrifice, okay? And so you can see this bottom jaw here. Let me come over to this side so you can see. I'm just gonna pick it up and down, but take a look at that back side, okay? It's a stop. It's gonna stop and make contact in the bottom of the loader arm. Not a big deal in and of itself. The point I say that, or the reason I say that though, is the fact that the open and close function is gonna be essentially your curl roll function, okay? So you curl, or say you wanna dump your bucket, for instance. What it's gonna do is close down this top jaw right against the bottom jaw, okay? So, and then when we're gonna curl, if you're gonna curl your bucket back up, for instance, it's gonna open this back up. So you don't have an additional ability once this is clamped down on your load to be able to then rock your whole load forwards or backwards. It's either gonna open or close the jaw. Now, on the other hand, if your top priority is gonna be cost, well, the brush crusher is essentially always going to be a cheaper option than the Worksaver Electric Mini Grapple. Also, if simplicity is high up on your list, well, then the brush crusher is about as simple as you can get. You know, a completely mechanical design, mechanical operation. There's no other interface with the tractor besides just using that loader joystick. You hook it up just like you would take your bucket or a set of pallet forks, that kind of thing, on and off. The brush crusher goes on the same way. With the Worksaver Mini Grapple here, you know, they do make a hydraulic version of this as well as the electric version, but the point being, either way, you have a whole other interface that goes along with it, okay? So that drives up cost, it drives up complexity, and allows another opportunity for something to fail down the road. Another FAQ, a frequently asked question, is going to be, what is the clamping force of each one of these? Well, that's a pretty easy answer with the electric grapple because of the electric actuator right here. And so it's going to have 1,000 pounds of clamping force to close onto a log or a pile of brush or debris or whatever you might have. Over here on the brush crusher, that's really going to be dependent on your tractor's hydraulic system, okay? Because again, there's no hydraulics on this brush crusher itself, all right? There's nothing there that is inherently going to determine the clamping or the closing force. That's all going to be coming from your hydraulic system down through your hoses and into your cylinders here that are on your loaders. That same hydraulic system there is going to be what's going to determine the closing pressure or closing force of the top jaw here on the brush crusher. Okay, so what size machines can these two units go on here, okay? Let's go over here and start at the Worksaver Mini Grapple first. Doesn't matter if it's the hydraulic version or the electric version. Again, you can only get the hydraulic version if you have those third function hydraulics on your machine. So, electric version here is going to be 32 horsepower, okay? A 32 horsepower machine, so that's all of your 1 series, and that's going to be the majority of your 2 series as well. This unit actually over here behind me is a 38 horsepower. Okay, would I bend the rules a little bit and probably say, hey, you're probably going to be okay? Because guess what? They make a larger frame tractor that's only 25 horsepower, you know? So a little bit of it's common sense, right? And I think if you're going to use things with some common sense when you're actually putting them to work, things are going to be okay. I'm not going to sit here and say the manufacturer's going to honor the warranty, though, if you're using it on a 38 horsepower machine, but common sense does go a long way to simplifying life. Okay, over here on the brush crusher. So this model right here, its brother, you know, the BC-4200 as well. You can use those all the way up to your 4 series tractors in the John Deere world or your Kubota Grand L series. You know, that's going to be the higher 40, 50, 60 horsepower tractors in that 4 series frame size. Same thing with the B4300, although you can also use those up into a 5 series. Okay, and so then you get to its big brother, the BC-4255, which is as closely as I could put it, it's going to be like the BC-4200, but you know, on steroids, just a lot beefier. Now that model right there is going to be designed for your 5 series tractors and larger. So this model we're taking a look at right here is the BC-4300, okay? So this is the skid steer quick attach version. You can see the whole skid steer quick attach plate right here. The one thing I will say that I've learned since the last video I made is that these bottom arms here, the stops, they don't really work that well. There's a really small sweet spot for you Kubota owners and some of you other brands out there as well. So I'm going to go inside, we're going to take a look at a Kubota. I'm going to tell you the reason, the spot that these interfere with, where sometimes I will find myself trying to steer you customers over towards the electric Mini Grapple instead, just because of the functionality of it and wanting to make sure that you have the best fit possible for your machine. All right, guys, so if you keep it in mind the fact that those stops on the brush crusher need to make contact and they're going to have a little bit of movement here on the bottom side of the loader arm, then you can see these points here that kind of stick out. They protrude from the bottom of these Kubota loaders, not all of them, but a lot of them, and same thing with some of the other manufacturers that are out there. So maybe it's Mahindra or Massey. Sometimes it just depends on the model within the whole lineup as well. But this is why I say it's a very small sweet spot in there, and sometimes it's more of a pain than what it's worth. And so I'll generally steer, if you've got a skid steer quick attach bucket like what this B2650 has on it, for example, I'll just steer you right towards an electric Mini Grapple because oftentimes it's going to be a little bit less cumbersome and trying to get it to fit and match up just accordingly. And so while it is a little bit more expensive solution, you know, it gets you something that you don't have to worry about messing with that either. So one of the biggest differences between these two designs is going to be the lower jaw configuration. So over here on the Worksaver, you can see it's almost vertical. You know, I have a little bit of a jaw right here, but you know, really hardly anything. You come over here to the brush crusher and you can see you have this really long bottom jaw here. And now this jaw isn't always going to be perfectly horizontal with the ground. You can adjust it with the stop right here to make it pitch down a little bit more, so it's not quite so horizontal, but a little bit even further open, and therefore also widening the opening this way as well. Over here it's a fixed position, right? There's not much you're going to do about it. Now, to be honest, I didn't think I was going to like this bottom jaw here. I thought, well, what good is this if there's not actually anything in there to just kind of scoop almost and grab onto? But what I found, and again, I've done a video on it, take a look, I'll put a link somewhere up above here. I've grabbed onto logs, I've grabbed onto a pile of leaves, piles of whatever the heck it is, and clamped down just fine, okay? You have enough points here to make contact and really secure. Again, remember there's 1,000 pounds of clamping force here. So whether it has a bottom jaw on it or it just clamps it right down like this, it's gonna hang on to it securely, okay, and not let it get away. So the other benefit to having a short bottom jaw like this is the fact it's going to keep your load closer to the loader frame itself, to the tractor as well. Probably means you're going to get a little bit more lifting capacity out of your load versus when you have to have it a little bit further out this way as well, where it's just going to, you know, the further away your load is from the base of your loader arm, the less weight you're going to lift. That's just something to do with physics, right? So anyway, that's a little bit of the design that's here. It's going to push your load out a little bit further, something to keep in mind. So the one other thing I've noticed about this bottom jaw when using it, and this really only happened when I was in my woods at one location. So again, since this is pretty much a fixed position here, I found myself going uphill and then trying to offload whatever the load was that was in, you know, the debris and branches and all that kind of stuff. And since I was going uphill, these were actually pitched up a little bit. And so even though I released the top jaw, things were just not falling out. And so I found myself kind of just moving the tractor back and forward kind of quickly to get it to release and go out. And now that's a solvable problem simply by adjusting this lower position here to give that not quite so horizontal of a shelf here, but pitching it down a little bit to let things naturally fall out. And again, that only happened when I actually had the tractor facing uphill and was trying to dump something out then. On flat ground and on declines, of course, it's not an issue at all. So when I'm talking about a third function hydraulic, this machine here actually has them on there already, okay? So it's having hoses ran up front like this, and they come all the way back, tie into the hydraulic system like they do right here. And then you've got an integrated thumb control like what you see right here, okay? But keep in mind that you can also have a third function hydraulic that's on the backside like this, all right? And so this one right here is tied into a mower hydraulic deck lift system right now. So it's actually run all the way up front down into, well, underneath the middle of the tractor there, and then going to hydraulically raise or lower the mower deck on the tractor, okay? So you could also run hoses all the way up front and then just control the grapple, but you'll see that this one here still has the thumb control right here, okay? So if you take hoses from the back and just route them all the way up front up to where your loader's at, you can just operate a grapple like that with the thumb control here. But again, these hydraulics, okay, to add on third function hydraulics, it's gonna totally depend on your dealer and where you're getting it from, what kind it is. But if you pay less than $1,000, it's almost a miracle. Most folks are gonna see that this is costing anymore about $1,500. I've heard some guys saying it's going to be $2,000, even a couple somehow that were $2,200 to $2,500 just for the hydraulics, not for the grapple. You know, so hopefully you found this informative. I wanted to give you some good feedback there. You know, over the last few months, all the questions that I've been asked a lot, wanted to get that information out to you guys to help you make a better decision on the right purchase for you. Again, I'd love to help you with the sale. I am not the manufacturer, okay? I am a dealer, okay? And so I'd love to get your business. I can get you these things shipped out at a really reasonable price to a large swath, you know, a large area of the United States. So I'd love to get an opportunity for you or from you. And if you wouldn't mind, check out goodworkstractors.com. Hit that subscribe button below if you haven't done so already. And make sure you check out the other videos on the channel. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you soon.